Yo, Pops Van Zant here. The Madness Comic Network is evolving into the Madness Roku Network. We're taking our stuff to Roku. We're joining great channels like the American Horrors Channel. We're taking our stuff over there, guys. We love it over there. You're going to love what we bring you. We got some great shows, all kinds of different stuff. Come join the madness, yo. Madness Roku Network right here. Peace.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Creative Cranium. Hope you're having a great Friday night. We've got a terrific show lined up for you. Tonight, we're going to talk about character creation, and I got some of the top creators in the industry today, and we're going to ask them some questions. So without further delay, let's jump right in. Please welcome my first guest. This is Tanner Hurley. What's up, Tanner?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Real quick, we know each other a little bit, right? But could you introduce yourself to the viewers and tell us what you're mostly known for?
I'm Tanner Hurley. I'm the founder of Apothic Press and Studios. Just started our newest imprint. We got 8 Ball Studios. That's going to be producing projects on the side. I'm known for Rin, Intergalactic Mercenary, and then currently I have its follow-up, Electric Agent of Helix, on Fun My Comic.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to hear more about that. I think you know our next guest also. She's well known in the creator field. Please welcome Laurie Calcaterra. Laurie, my pal.
What's up? Hey,
hi,
Laurie.
boys.
Now, boy, most of us know who Laurie is, and we think she's terrific. But for those that don't know, Laurie, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you're mostly known for?
Well, I'm Laurie Calcaterra. I'm the writer-creator of the Western Apocalypse series, Path of the Pale Rider, which is what I'm mostly well known for, along with like smashing watermelons and hosting the Tuesday Morning Brew on Tuesdays.
Videographer.
Oh, yes, I do that too. I do short films. I write riddles.
I'd say you're kind of known for that. You're kind of known for that now.
Am I? All right, I'll take it.
You know, I say that because it makes you stick out a little bit. You know, everybody's got like one thing they do that's a little bit different.
I think the short films make me stick out. Yeah.
Well, hey, it's great to see you, Laurie, and thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks. Yeah, I love coming on Creative Cranium, and if I'm not on the show, I'm usually in the comments.
Yeah, we're gonna have a fun one tonight. My next guest I met in Baltimore. He's a terrific guy. Please welcome John Escobales. Escobales, is that the correct pronunciation?
Yeah, you got it. Not bad at all.
All right, man. John, great to see you. We know each other from Baltimore Comic-Con. But, you know, we've never interacted online a little bit, you know, from each other's projects.
A little bit.
I thought your work looked terrific. That was the one you showed me in Baltimore. But could you please tell the viewers who you are and what you're mostly known for?
Well, I'm mostly known for racing around comic conventions and being loud and obnoxious. But other than that, GWP just did a series, Road to Valhalla. So I think that would be probably what I'm better known for. So
that's the one I saw, and that's like a Viking or no, not Viking.
Viking horror.
Yeah, man, nice looking book.
Yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun to do too. We get a lot of compliments, and people are asking for more. So we'll see what happens with that.
I will tell you, and because I like to give compliments to the various creators I meet on the shows, and I will tell you, John, when I saw what you were doing, I was like, because I had just missed your Kickstarter, and I was like, it was nobody else was doing that. It was a very original look, and it has a real sort of like a urgent art style, right? Like it's very, it's really cool. So, and what was the title again?
Road to Valhalla.
Road to Valhalla. So definitely recommending that one. Definitely recommending.
That was Keith Murphy on the art on the inside, the urgent stuff I think you were talking about, and then on the covers we had Hector Rodriguez, who are basically like the two of them started GWP, and then I kind of forced my way in.
Interesting. Well, I can't wait to hear more about that one too. So like I say, we got a terrific a lineup here. So I'm just going to go around clockwise. Let's start with some questions. Hey, and if we're lucky, we're going to have KJ back here in a minute. He had a quick technical difficulty, but so hopefully we can get him back out here. But I'm going to jump right in with Laurie. Laurie, you want to talk about some characters, right? Like when you create your characters, first up, how do you do it? And what I mean by that is, do you design the character? Are they part of a scene? Is there some dialogue? How do you design your characters?
Well, usually I'm designing the world first, and then I'm fitting my character into the world. And a lot of times I'll drop them into the beginning when they're just raw, and I will figure out where they need to be at the end, and I will figure out the skills or things they need to develop.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And then I'll go back and build their character bio sheet. So it's like, I don't know, kind of scatterbrained, I guess.
No, that makes sense to me.
Where they
makes
start, where they end, where they have to go.
Expand a little bit. What did you, when you say like a bio sheet, when you make your characters for your books, do you make like a sheet on them with all their characteristics and stuff? Okay, got it.
Height, weight, like eye color, hair color. Do they have like facial hair? What's scars, tattoos? How tall are they? What's their past? What did they do before an event? Like if there's cryptids, like before the cryptids, or like in my world before like the apocalypse, what did they do? What are their fears? What are their wants? All of that stuff. And that kind of helps the character make decisions as they move forward. And it's great to flaws from the beginning, right? Because it's so, we'll get into that. It's much better if your character has some flaws, so people can
flaws. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So save flaws for round two. So Tanner, let's jump over to you. So in your character design, what is your first step? Where do you start? Are they in a scene? Is there dialogue? How do you design it?
A little bit of dialogue and character bios. I have an artistic background, so I usually do the concept sketches of
I don't think I knew
the characters. Oh, okay. But yeah, I do a lot of the concepts for the stuff that I create. So I'll start with drawing just a basic picture of what they look like, and then like I said, I get the bio going from there, and then it's outlines and things of that nature, that follow.
You use an outline?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I do too. Nothing against that. Okay, so let's jump over to John. Now, in your case, when you make the characters, same question. Do you start with is it a piece of dialogue? Is it a visual image? What is the first step when you create the characters?
I think it's probably a scene for me. Yeah. I get into, I just, something inspires me to start working. And once I do, I want to get that scene out. Once I get the scene out, then I just kind of explore it as I go.
How do you
Telling
know
the story tends to, what's that?
I was going to say, how do you know when you're really nailing the scene? Like I try that too.
I think it's a matter of just getting the inspiration out onto the page, onto the screen, whatever. And then, and just, rewriting. That's kind of like probably going to be my next tattoo is rewriting. That's where the magic is in the inspiration, but it seems like the quality of the storytelling comes from just the rewriting. You find things that work.
Sure.
And I do like the idea of outlining and I like the idea of cataloging all their traits.
Are you an artist too? I'm a writer. Are you a writer also? You're just a writer.
No, I can doodle, put it that way. I tend to give a lot of the artists I'm working with,
Like
these
a layout.
horrible stick figure sketches.
Yeah.
Some of them
hold on.
beg for them.
Quick show of
want
hands,
nothing to do
because
with them,
now
yeah.
we know that Tanner's the artist, right? But for the rest of us, quick show of hands if you do the stick figures and the cheap layouts for the artist. Yeah, I do.
Heck yeah.
There's nothing wrong
Not
with
all of
that.
them, but certain panels. That's about it, though. Not every page. I prefer not to do every page anyway.
Right. Well, and let's be honest, if you have to do that every time, that means probably your writing's not that good, because you're not
That's true.
communicating clearly in the right.
They don't understand.
Or you're not inspiring the artist.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, so let's work that into our questions. Let's jump over to Laurie. So you have the next step then is you're going to move into art, right, and have something designed. You start with a written description, right?
Yes.
Do you send the artist any kind of stick figure or art of your own that you've made, or is it a reference image from a movie?
Sometimes I'll send movie reference. Like we were just talking about a new character that's making a splash in the next issue, right? New character, nice. Very important to the story. However, has no lines and doesn't become important until later. But you will see him later on in the story, and that's why it's important we design him now. So my artist was like, I had put a description, but he was like, how long is their hair? What kind of clothes are they wearing? Because I have like, let's say I put like uniform of a specific kind, and he's like, show me what you're talking about, because again, we're in the apocalypse. So at that point I will pull images. I'll be like, okay, look, this is what I'm thinking, like hair wise and like clothing wise and and then he can read the rest of the personality and background, and that helps. Like this one has a tattoo that's specific. Yeah. So but he needed to know specifically like hairstyle for things.
So that's pretty specific. So Tanner, how about you? So you're the artist, or do you like draw something before the design?
Oh, I totally usually do.
I usually draw. Yeah, I totally draw something.
Yeah, I was like, I know he does. Don't pretend you don't. I know you do. That's awesome. I wish I could do that, man. That's a skill to have. Be like,
well, then that's an interesting thing, and I'm going to ask you this. So what? Let me think of the right way to ask. I want to get a good question for this. So you can pretty much design it on your own without the elements of an additional artist. True.
I can, however, I love the collaborative process.
That's what I was going to ask you. Tell us why you do it then.
Well, I do it just because, I'm creative, and like a character, an idea will come to me, and I'm like, well, it would be cool if a character looked like this. And then maybe I'm like, how can I use them? Can I use them in one of my stories that I'm currently writing, or that I have written?
That's interesting. You got the character before the story. That's kind of cool.
I do. I usually have the character before the story.
Oh, interesting.
That is interesting.
And I just kind of hodgepodge stuff together.
That is fascinating, because I'm always interested in how, like, if writing is a game of chess, just to pick a metaphor, like everybody puts their pieces out in a different way, right? Like it's like you could come up with 4 cool characters, like just to pick something, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and have them come rushing out the door, and it would be a cool story before you even got started,
Oh yeah, because I'll see something visually, and it's kind of like what John was saying. You start with a scene, like how I'll be mowing the lawn or something, and just mindlessly, and it's like, oh, I got a great idea for a character. It'd be cool if they're jumping off a building, and and then there's some other characters looking up at them, or stuff like that. And I think it just stems from being a kid. Like, I wanted to be a director when I was a kid. But I kind of got told by a lot of people that, oh yeah, you'll never make it as a director, so I was like, okay, I did. I got told that,
Lame.
It's because when I was young, I basically just kind of remade Star Wars all the time and renamed it. So everyone's like, this kid, that's all he's gonna do.
They're like, this
is rip
kid.
people off.
Some people have made a career out of that.
I was gonna say, ripping people off is probably a pretty good angle. I'm gonna try and do more of that myself. Let's jump over to John. So John, talking about character design now, I have almost zero art skills. So I pretty frequently will say, well, he looks a little bit like Bruce Dern in the movie Silent Running, for example. We have a character who looks just like Bruce Dern now. Do you ever use any kind of references, or does it come to you kind of fully formed?
I think the initial inspiration is vague, and it's probably got to do with some kind of experience that I can relate to in some way,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking it from there. As I go through it and I build upon it, then I start looking around for somebody who I think fits the character. So yeah, certainly movie stars or whatever you can find online, and
Well,
as hazardous as that is.
And I say that in the sense
Yeah.
of, boy, what's the right way to say this? I'm not an artist, as I've disclosed, right? So sometimes the shorter way to get ahead, because even if you request the likeness of a movie star or singer or whoever you pick, or even, a reference photo, in most cases with an artist, you're not going to get too exact of a representation of the person.
No.
Agreed?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
sometimes that's a better starting point, depending on how good your artist is. If he's making it very photorealistic, you could be in trouble, Hey,
Right.
why is Tom Hanks in your book? That kind of thing.
Then you get the letter. That's not good. Don't get the letter.
Yeah.
That's when you got a good artist. You get the letter.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
this looks too much like. Oh, got to change the hair color. Sorry.
We have had a little bit of success. I work with Erwin Arosa quite a bit, and he can do a very photorealistic interpretation of just about anybody. And we write the characters in, and it looks so much like the person, it's like startling. People have been like, "Holy crap!" I'm like, it looks just like them. Basically, he's capturing the digital angle, same as like a photo from the digital photograph. So
yeah, but that could work out in your favor because kind of like when they created in the Ultimates, the Nick Fury, they made him look like Samuel L. Jackson,
and it became
he was like, "Hey, I want this role because
it's me.
It's me."
Yeah,
right.
Genius, right?
That seemed like such a fluke, though. I mean, he was obviously Samuel Jackson, and
right.
Where other people, when they've done it, like Paul Gulacy did it with Bruce Lee.
Oh yeah,
back in Shang-Chi, and they came after Marvel for that. So
gotcha.
Nobody was flattered there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hit or miss with that. If they send you the letter that's the cease and desist, then it's like, it's a bad day. Whoops.
Yep.
Yeah, and as I sometimes like to, and by the way, I don't know what I'm necessarily doing, so don't always follow my advice. But I love to tell people, don't be too afraid of a cease and desist letter. If they meant it, you would have got an attorney, and he would have either called or would have been more than a cease and desist. They're trying to shake you a little bit to see if you'll drop. Don't drop on the first cease and desist. Make them fight it out.
I'm with you all the way on that.
Hey, all the
Tim
way.
is not a
Heck
lawyer.
yeah.
Please
Yeah,
do not
I want him to
take
show up at
legal
my house
advice
and tell
from
me
this
stuff.
man.
People are going to say things like one of the old names of before it was Earth Dog Studios, it was Haunted Garage Media. And there was a dude who had wrote a documentary about an 80s rock band in the South called Haunted Garage. And he sent me some cease and desist. And I was like, buddy, this doesn't sound all that well known to me. I follow these things pretty close.
Yeah.
Let's fight it out and see how it goes. Anyway, you can see what happened.
Yeah.
And I said it a little nicer than that. But the truth is, when it comes to intellectual properties, the market tends to decide those a little bit more than right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, you could ask Alan Moore that one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's switch over to some things that maybe we learned in the process of making these characters. Like one of the things I've learned, I'll just give a quick for instance. I didn't used to do any kind of character sheet like Laurie mentioned, and it's a super smart thing to do, and lots of people do it, especially people who take writing cues from gaming, which is kind of a thing, right? Particularly tabletop gaming, and nothing against that, but that comes sort of preloaded with like character sheets, and you can sort of fill in the blanks, which is useful for writers. And like I say, I'm not disparaging that in any way because I'd never used them before. So I occasionally in the beginning had two characters that were maybe a little bit too similar, or I realized a couple chapters in that I could have changed a few things. Laurie, what's something that when you made your first batch of characters, what's something that you wish you would have known, or something you wished you could have changed?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Ooh, you stumped me, Tim. You never stump me. I usually have an answer for everything.
One, right?
Like
picture a new person. Picture a new person. And and they're saying, hey, well, what's something that when you made the characters you think you might have done wrong? I'll tell you what, I'll give another for instance.
Yeah,
it was pointed out to me by a letter. I'll give you a couple seconds of stalling. I had a story with a young girl who was from the future, and she was in a basically like a car accident and lands in this robot ghetto, and she's quickly being claimed as salvage. And the girl tends to speak in this very intelligent way, and she was supposed to be 7, which is we want her to be intelligent. And Matthias, the Spanish guy, said, "Hold on a second, She sounds intelligent, but she sounds like she's 41 years old. You got to somehow dial the words back to sound like she's 7 and intelligent.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of one I had done wrong. So we went with, with simpler words and simpler sentences, stuff like that.
Gotcha. I don't know. I would definitely go back and look at the history I created for some of mine and maybe spend a little more time in their past to develop, their wants and needs. And like you said, in gaming, it's like creating a backstory for your character. Anytime that you have a chance to really flesh out a character, they seem more relatable and more believable in the story instead of these two-dimensional characters that nobody cares about, especially if you're going to kill them off. You want people to like them before you kill them so you can have some impact. If you just kill off two-dimensional characters, nobody cares.
Yeah, totally agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless you wanted Jeffrey Perotta, and
Maybe.
So let's
You
move
never
on.
know.
You never know.
So Tanner, you can jump in here, share your thoughts here. What are some
Yeah.
things that when you, and this could be, I'll make it a little broader if that's easier, but in the process of making characters and making your scripts, what's something that you wish you would have known or something you could have done a little bit differently? And you could choose any of the books.
Oh man, yeah,
See what I mean?
that's a
You
good
think
question.
about it.
It is. It really makes you think.
I think about stuff like that all the time.
Well, I jumped into creating like my flagship title. I did it out of kind of being pissed off with some people that I had a falling out with, and they had spent like 30 years working on their character. And I was like, well, screw you. I'll create something in 2 weeks and and it'll sell. And that's kind of how Ren came out. So I do kind of wish that I would have went back and, maybe given it more than 2 weeks.
There's lots of good motivations to do things. And I will say vengeance is a pretty good one.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
just dying over here, God. I'm like,
Tanner, that's a pretty good story, man. You should make a story about that, like about how. I'm all over the slice of life.
I could.
Lately. It
Sounds like you did.
I thought it was interesting, man. That was an interesting story.
you know what they say, though.
What do they say?
When you go on a path of revenge, you dig 2 graves.
Oh, you didn't just say that.
This
Yeah,
is
that's
true.
right.
This is true.
That was a Laurie's making a reference to this book we're working on. I'm half tempted to show it to you guys.
Do it.
You want me to? All right.
Do it.
Keep talking while I'm doing it. But in the meanwhile, let's jump over to John.
John.
And same thing, keep it broad. It doesn't just have to be about characters. But really what we're trying to do is see something that you might have learned through the process. Like what's an element of either the characters or maybe the plot or the script that, you wish it, looking back at it now, like, oh, I could have done this or I could have put that there.
Probably 2 things. One, the kill your darlings thing, kill your babies thing. That was something I wish I had done earlier.
Explain. I haven't heard that before. What is that?
You write a scene or you create a character or a trait in the character that you are attached to, that you really want to highlight or show off, but it doesn't work in the story at all. Gotcha. So, eventually, for the good of the story, you should probably let it go. But when I was younger, I couldn't do that. This was like the essential part of the story, and ended up having nothing to do with the story, but it was his general attitude towards everything. It was kind of like how he reacted to almost anything, the character. So, but that and there was another one. I might have spaced on it.
How long have you been creating? Like, let's use Road to Valhalla for the example. Is that fair to say that's your biggest title?
Yeah, certainly. I didn't take writing comics or even short stories for all that much. I wrote them because they wouldn't leave me alone, so I wrote them. But I was primarily in bands for so many years and just writing songs. So everything I wrote came out in a song or in that type of framework to a melody or something. And that was what I was really focused on.
I don't think I knew that either. So again, there's the curious link between comics and music. You're a musician?
Yeah, I beat the crap out of guitars and I sing for years.
No shit.
It's awesome.
Hey, we
Hell
should talk
yeah.
further because, like I say, I'm in this sort of in this in between space where I lost this guitar player. You're
I was gonna
not by any
say-
chance familiar with a MIDI interface, are you? I mean,
I'm not. I just plug it in and I scare people with it.
Yeah,
But yeah, we did touch on it a little bit in Baltimore, though.
yeah. I think
if
we
I
did
remember.
mention that, didn't we?
Yeah, just a little something. Yeah.
At the time, I used to write songs, and each new short story came out with a song. And my guy went on tour, and like I said, I don't think he's coming back from his tour to help me make theme songs for my comics.
If you can survive in the music business, yeah, you want to stay there.
Right.
You want to keep swimming for as long as you can.
I think he's doing okay. One of the guys was in. Well, I don't need to plug his band at the current moment. Right now, we're going to plug you guys' stuff. So we're talking right now about Path of the Pale Rider, right, with Laurie.
Hey.
And so there's how many? Let's look at it kind of like from the 1,000 feet down. How many main characters are in Path of the Pale Rider?
Maybe like 3 or 4. It goes through phases. So in the first arc, there's just the one, and he finds a second character in the third act that will then remain with him through the rest of the series. So, and then there's a few other main characters that join later on, but it's usually just Jude St. Clair. Everybody else gets killed.
Yeah. I dig westerns, as
sorry.
you know. I'll give you a quick preview.
Yes, show.
That's we're working on the secret western behind the scenes.
That's a cool cover. I love
Sure
it.
is.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful cover.
From
Thanks.
one western to another. Bravo, sir.
yeah, thanks. And the thing that I think that Laurie will like, and that most people will like, and that'll be surprising coming from me, is that there's no powers, there's nothing outlandish. It is bone dry. As people would describe it as sort of like a glacial pace. It's a little bit like along the lines of with the long rolling vistas in the beginning, and there's several pages where nobody's saying anything. There's a lot of silent page because Erwin and I do well on the silent pages. So there's like some Native American stuff where there's it starts with you can't quite understand what anybody's saying. Then there's like a Chinese dude who's working as he's a laundry guy is what it is, and it turns out that he's can fight. It's all like they have to sort of get together to stop this tragedy from happening.
Gotcha.
I can't wait to read that.
Oh,
well, thanks, man.
yeah.
Thanks. That's our next one. Like I say, that's the one on the burner because there's these other things have kept happening, right? I got the right kind of problem. So actually now you're going to see Cryptid 2 before Remember to Dig Two Graves. But like I say, the show's not actually going to be about me, right? So let's talk about Path of the Pale Rider. That's where I left off. And thanks, Laurie, for giving me a chance to.
Oh yeah, I totally lined you up for that. You can pay me $20 later.
So let's take a second and talk with everybody about their campaign. So Laurie, you were telling us first. Tell us the main characters of Path of the Pale Rider, and then tell us who you think will love the book.
All right. Well, our main character is Jude St. Clair, who is a cowboy in the apocalypse. It's the future Old West. So death is broken in this world, and yeah, your body can die, your soul stays in your body. People, animals, plants, it affects everything. So this is right here. So Jude St. Clair, our secondary antagonist that's like everybody loves, the undead bear Big James.
Great name, by the way. I don't want to jump in, Laurie. I think Jude St. Clair is a terrific character name.
Thank you. Yeah, he's complicated. He's a sarcastic bastard. He makes bad decisions when he's sleep deprived. He's very determined. No matter what happens, he needs to find the answer. I gave everybody a little warning about spoilers because something big happens in issue 3, and here it is. So sorry if we spoil this for you, but there's some character development that happens. And we pick up where we left off with issue number 4. So this is Jude St. Clair's immediate family, his mom and his dad. When the apocalypse hit, he was a young man. He grows up quite a bit very quickly in those 10 years and goes from that page to this page in the first, 10 years in the issues. So what was the other question? Those are the main characters. And then what was the question?
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about who will love this book and who the target audience is.
So if you like properties like Book of Eli, spaghetti westerns, The Walking Dead, Cocaine Bear, you'll see a lot of Fallout, Mad Max. It's Western, sci-fi, paranormal, horror, action, drama. That's all. That's all that's in there. Not much.
It's cheaper to list what's not in there.
I know, seriously. I'm like, it is not a romance. Actually,
Well,
there
I don't
is
know. That
some
looks
in
pretty,
there
that looks pretty
later.
romantic there.
I can't lie. Eventually, there is some romance, but not in these pages. He's beating the crap out of people. But it's a fun story because it's like you get to see how terrible things are, and then you go back in time and you get to see how it all fell apart. We will catch up in time to where we left off in issue 2, where Jude St. Clair was in jail. We will pick up actually in issue number 5. So issue number 4, there's a lot that happens. It's a tough issue for Jude St. Clair and his family. It's rough. I'm not going to lie. There's going to be some points where y'all are going to be mad. But it's all part of this character's path and what develops him into who he becomes. So it's very important that this issue happens so people can understand what drives this character.
Sure. Laurie, it looks great. I've said this before. I think Path of the Pale Rider is a cool book. Let's do a quick call to action. Viewers, like if you like the various kind of things like choose your own adventures in there, there's some great video work. There's puzzles and like elements of the plot that you have to solve. This is a fun ride. So you can go over and check that out right now on Kickstarter. It's Path of the Pale Rider.
It's Jeff. He's seen my commercial and it's like, what is Path of the Pale Rider? Is it a comic book? Nah. And it's stuck in his head. So he keeps repeating parts of it to me. And it's hilarious. Sorry, Jeff. It's like an earworm, that commercial. You can't get rid of it.
It's true. That commercial was so good.
I think it's 57 seconds of what the heck is Path of the Pale Rider, because we have so many moving parts. Like Tim said, it's like it's a comic book. We have a choose your own adventure book. We do fan interactive videos and we write riddles. So every issue you get a new riddle and you get to find like bonus content, like things get sent to you in the mail from characters. You might be a phone number to call, a hidden YouTube video, a website to hack. It's really crazy, this stuff that I have planned. And then for some of the fun stuff, the shenanigans that we do, we smash pumpkins and watermelons. Because why not?
Why not?
Doesn't fit into the story at all. We just like to smash things and cause destruction.
There's no such thing as bad publicity, Laurie. We love talking about it.
We have a good time, though. Interactive media. That's correct. That's right,
so,
Jeff.
Let's jump over to Electric.
Oh man.
Okay, so Tanner, I'm kind of a fan of your work, the little bit of it I've seen, and it's true we don't know each other very well, but the more I hear about it, the more I kind of like it, right? So take a second here and tell us who 1,000 feet up, you're looking down, who are the main characters in Electric? Tell us a little bit about them. And also, who will like who will like this book?
Okay. Well, the main character is Electric. She's a energy succubus that can project that energy into these hilts that, create kind of like a Psylocke type character, creating blades, and it's real unstable because it's emotional energy. So it kind of crackles all over the place, and it's just crazy stuff to control. But she's the main focus on this, but it's an anthology book to show off the villains that you're going to see in the main book, because it's a follow-up to Rin, and the idea is that they would come together in an ongoing series called Double Helix, which I have in production right now. So it really is to focus on the Rogues Gallery.
So this is a little bit like it's not a little bit, it's a universe, right? So you've got a superhero universe. And in your vision, how many characters now include villains? How many, is it called the Electric Verse, or is there a name for this already?
It's called the Helix Verse, because they both work for the Helix Agency.
So, neat. Okay, I get it. And how many characters include the bad guys now? How many characters are in the Helix Verse? And keep it main characters only if they have lines.
12 to 15.
Nice. Hey, that's a good stable, man.
Yeah. Well, between you got the three main characters, which is Rin and Electric. Then you got their handler, which is Bogan. And that kind of makes up your good guys. Well, there's other characters that are going to be introduced. Like Mosley, he flies their ship. He's their pilot.
Nice.
And then you have the Rogues Gallery, which, you know, that's
I love it. I love Rogues Gallery. You had me at hello, man. This sounds terrific to me. And let's go up to the top one more time. We'll do a call to action here. Okay, now this is on fundmycomic.com. That's Electric, Agent of Helix by Tanner Hurley. It looks terrific. And I always like to mention the veteran too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for your service, Tanner.
Thank you.
I take very seriously. I think we should support this project. And man, it sounds really cool. You know, Energy Succubus. How did you get the idea for Energy Succubus?
I kind of did it on the fly. What I like to do is I'm a big sci-fi fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I like horror.
Hold on, stop right there. Big sci-fi fan. That means a lot of different things. Okay. When you say big sci-fi fan, what?
Stuff
you love the novels of Isaac Asimov?
You did not just say stuff.
There's so many different kinds. You'll see where I'm going here in a minute. Maybe you like more comics or movies or books. Which one?
Probably more into movies and books.
Gotcha. Favorite sci-fi movie? Go.
Favorite sci-fi movie? Probably the original Star Wars.
Oh man, great.
It had such a big impact on me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, it branches out. I mean, I liked all that stuff. I love Buck Rogers. I love Flash Gordon. I like the old serials. I like newer stuff. You know, I'm pretty thrilled about the prospect of this Rebel Moon coming out by Zack Snyder. You know,
yeah. There's that new movie about the AI. Looks pretty good. That's
from, Creator. Yeah, that does.
Yeah,
it's by
Gary.
I can't remember the guy's name right now. It's not really.
It's
by the guy who did.
You're so funny.
The guy who did Rogue One. I think that's Gareth Edwards, maybe.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Viewers, let me know if I got that wrong. Hey, let's jump over to John real quick. John, did you have a link? I didn't know if you want me to share a link or anything.
Yeah, I sent it in the chat. Maybe it didn't go.
I don't think I have it.
It's
here you go, buddy. I'm sorry, I missed it.
That's all right.
That's all me. All right. So, and by the way, I'm not familiar with this at all. Monster or Master?
Yeah. It's.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hear about this. All right, lay it on us. So, what we're gonna do? Sorry about my big head. That's the wrong one. We'll do that one.
I hate it when that happens. I'm like, no.
So, like I was saying, and sometimes excuse my ignorance if I meet a lot of creators because I'm only familiar with Road to Valhalla.
Valhalla. Yep.
Yeah. So, John, start me at ground zero here. I'm a fan of your stuff. Tell me who the characters are and who will love this project.
Well, this character you're looking at right here in front of it is the Frankenstein monster, essentially.
Yeah.
And basically, it's him and Dracula and a werewolf in 1897 Japan at the last breath of the samurai.
Okay, I love this already, man. Keep going.
They all end up meeting there, and basically what happens is Dracula is recruiting Dr. Frankenstein, and the monster finds out about it, and he gets annoyed, and he decides he's going to go finish the job on the doctor. And in the process, on the way, he meets the werewolf, and but of course, when they get to Japan,
dude,
nobody knows. Yeah, it's a guy named Imong Ka Imong. His name is from the Philippines.
Oh,
you had me at martial arts.
Yeah. Hey, and I'm going to make a quick comment. Hey, you guys know I started this editing gig, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you something that I would use as an example of a well-written introductory scene called framing. And most comic creators forget to do it. In fact, probably 90% of them don't. And John does it perfectly here in this scene.
Look at that.
Yeah, I hope that you can view this okay if you're at home. Maybe you can't see the video as good, but it says it right on there, Japan. I'm probably going to blow the pronunciation. Yamanagi Prefecture. What does that say, 1905?
1895.
1895. Sorry, I'm looking at the small print. But my point is, that's an excellent example of what I call framing. It sets it up for the reader. Here's what I mean by that. As writers, we forget, like we know all the details, but we forget to express sometimes critical ones right away in the first couple of pages for somebody that's joining for the first time. That's one of the things that in my early stuff, I wish I could go back and change. I had inadequate framing. So good job, John.
Oh, thank you.
So, hey, let me ask you a question. So I'm going to just guess here. So you might have a little bit of a screenplay writing background.
I've dabbled in it, but yeah, I've never been able to actually finish one that didn't turn into a comic script.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Budget.
Mr. Bracey established the setting. Yeah, well, a good call. So, well, let me ask you, where did you pick up that habit, or did you see it done so many times you picked it up?
Probably just seen it done so many times, but I probably had written in like creative writing classes or something. I'd probably written a few times where the teacher had said, you know, where are they? You know, what's, you know, when are they? So yeah, it just kind of just lodged in my head. I want the reader on solid ground right off the bat, so I don't have to try and explain it, you know, in the text somewhere else.
Yeah, well said. There's two. There's that, and the other thing. And by the way, it's easy for me to say I'm often guilty of these, so it doesn't sound like I'm picking on anybody else. But the other one is that if you are going to write in a screenplay type format or a comic book script format, the characters should address each other by name. We all know the names because we wrote the story, but we forget that the reader, he's coming on issue 3, maybe. It's got to say, you know, hey, Jude St. Clair, whoever the name is. You got to remember to use the name, which so many of us will often forget that too. So, a quick question: what got you inspired to? I'm being sincere, like as some of you know, I love Asian themed history settings. So, what got you inspired about 1895 Japan? It's the Meiji Restoration, right?
Yes, yep. It's kind of probably almost near the end of it, to be honest, if I remember correctly. But
what an interesting time.
Yeah, well, you know, oddly enough, I just wrote an update to the Kickstarter with this story in it. But essentially, we were on our way to Baltimore the year I met you.
Yeah.
And Keith, the guy who kind of runs the GWP group, he had drawn a Bela Lugosi style Dracula holding a samurai sword. I'm not sure if I gave him the idea to do it or not, but he drew it, and a lot of people on Kickstarter, on Facebook and Instagram kind of reacted to it, and we thought it was funny, and we started talking about it in the car ride down from Connecticut to Baltimore, and that's where the idea kind of just grew. Substances might have been involved, but I'm pretty sure it was a long ride, right?
Yeah.
So we were, you know, BSing back and forth about the whole idea. Somebody in the car said that should be a story.
Yeah.
And that just turned my brain on, and I started running with it. And by the time we got to Baltimore, it was a project.
John, I got to tell you, thanks so much for agreeing to do this. Yeah, Bracey is right. It reminds me of those classic black and white mags of the 70s. And there's another.
That's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, and there's another thing which I like to bring up that I think is cool. And by the way, let's vote on this, gang, because not everyone will love this, but I do. John goes for the gutsy lettering and the cursive handwriting style. I talked to Chris about this, and in the editing group, it's a hot topic because many people would say something like, the general gist of it is that the current generation no longer uses the cursive handwriting to read or communicate, so it's too difficult for them to process. But I don't know, it lends something to the story.
It does.
It does.
It does.
And
so we all vote for it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good for you.
Visually, it works.
All right,
for your story. It wouldn't work for everybody's story, but it works for that one.
Right.
Yeah,
well, and in this case, his is not over I wouldn't describe. Yeah, it's more like a stylized. It's still very easy to read. I love the font. Who is your letterer here, John?
Mindy Lopkin. She's I call her the comic book Swiss Army knife. She can do just about anything.
That's awesome. I'm going to be a Swiss Army knife someday.
So, hey, Laurie, that's you doing the comments, right? Thank you very much for including the comments from our viewers.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I get heated up and I forget the comments. Yeah, John, I love the stylistic choices on this book. So let me ask you this. I'm not going to go too far off of characters, but I really like that look that you're describing. First, and Tanner knows this because I think we talked about this before, the Kurtis publications of the late 70s. Do you remember those? That was Marvel Preview, and that's what it reminds me of in the best way. And the second thing is, like, do you have a designer that helps you do this and you say shoot for that, or how did How did you
What do you mean,
arrive
the
at this?
pages itself? Or
Yeah, it has a very unique look. Like, did you describe it this way, or did you experiment? How did it come out looking like
I
this?
definitely described it, but Imong is just an amazing storyteller.
Right,
Really,
right.
I mean, it was so easy to write something and then send it off to him, and he always comes back with usually something a hell of a lot better than I'm asking for. You know, and he
That's
knows the
like that.
mood, and God knows we spent hours and hours on the phone talking about movies and what we kind of want this to look like, and you know,
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kurosawa,
It's fantastic,
all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
think,
a bad
you know,
man.
the other part was it was hard to write over the art. I didn't want to cover too much of it.
Yeah, that's
sure.
the hard part too. It's like I have a lot to say, but I go back and I change what my dialogue is sometimes to be smaller to fit the space better.
Yeah, yeah.
I do
And then you
that
got to
too.
tell the artist you did it because you want them to know you did it. I'm thinking of you.
Right, right.
But but that
Well,
character there with the glasses, that's obviously Renfield.
Yeah, nice. And again, I like that. He has the modern font in his. I'm a little bit of a lettering maven, you probably noticed, but that's the same. Yeah, that's the same font we use for our robots.
I think if you scroll down a little further too, that you'll see on the next page. Is it there?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a whole other version of
Oh,
that.
look at that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
By the way, you know, I wish Carissa was here because I would
So
use this
nice.
as the example. There you have the page with the perfect framing, and it starts out right with the cursive font. That's gutsy, man. My hat's off to you, John. And I mean that in a way where I think that your design choices were brave. I personally love them. I'd still say they're brave, though. You know.
Oh no, I've gotten some crap for it, but
oh really? Hey, let me ask you: is this a like an editor? When you say crap for it, could you tell us a little bit? First, do you work
just
with
some
an
people
editor?
who've
Do you work with an editor?
actually on this one I did work with somebody just on the outline, and you know he also said that, you know, you're running a risk. I mean, if the lettering sucks, it's going to be a mess. You can do it easily just in regular lettering, you know, but also having that many words on a comic book page, I get this a lot too. No one's reading all that, you know. People, there's just too much. People want smaller blurbs of stuff.
And people tend to
writing.
skim things too. I think one thing about your story seems to have a good sense of visual storytelling. So you know, I think you got that going for you. You know,
you almost don't have to read it.
yeah, right. Now, let me ask you though, when you
I love that.
You said you worked with an editor. Boy, I got to be honest with you. I personally love that, but if I was the editor, I might have flagged it, because here's why. All the major guys flag cursive now. DC does, Image does, because everything's kind of dumbed down. But
oh my God,
for like an artistic type of book, like a Kickstarter project that has a little soul in it, man, I think you kind of nailed it here, John.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Thank you.
So
that's that whole page is a letter essentially to the doctor. That guy on the page was Dr. Frankenstein. So I wanted the reader to be absorbed by that. This guy's sitting here, you know, dwelling in his misery, and there's a letter.
Sorry about my big head. I was trying to bring John's letter up onto the screen, but you know, I thought you might want to see me. You know,
it's always nice to see you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I always laugh because I do the same thing. I'm like, I push in all the
time.
buttons. Eventually,
Yeah.
I will get
you
to the right one.
And look, I don't mind telling you, I'm trying to totally pay attention and be engaging to the guests, right? But at the same time, you want to get cool images while they're talking.
Yeah,
sure, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, but here's what I wanted to tell you, and a couple of you guys know Carissa Grant, and this is exactly the example that she and I talked about, because she had one like this, and it was like the premise of it was, and Chris, I'm probably going to mess this up now, so you can, but the guy's like a couple hundred years old, or it might have been the girl writing to the guy, but either way, it's a person from a prior generation writing to this one, and I said, hey, that makes perfect sense that it would be in cursive. Hers was a little over cursive. It was a little too stylized, but this is, I would say that's the perfect blend that John has there.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll look at some quick covers here. These are gorgeous, brother.
Thank you. That's Keith Murphy's cover.
Monster.
That's a cover by Ken Perry. He's done some work for Source Point Press.
Oh, sure.
And that's Hector Rodriguez, the guy who did the Road to Valhalla covers. Also the creator of Hell's Blood, which is another book we got.
Oh, I like this one. I like that one.
That's Keith's as well.
Jeff says, when we used to read tons of text in some of those old comics, Chris Claremont comes to mind, but when those folks wrote it, it mattered.
There you go.
Does it matter anymore?
I think it does matter.
Oh, it
but
certainly matters.
Doug Munch was my
no.
favorite writer of that era. Still my favorite writer, actually, Doug Munch. And yeah, there were books where he would be as verbose as Claremont, or at least he was criticized for being as verbose as Claremont.
Yeah.
That's fine
I
with
mean,
me.
it's
I like
hard.
those.
It's hard to balance the amount of exposition and dialogue and everything with the action, everything else that's going on in the story. Because some people just don't want to. It's like, it's a comic book, yes, but you still have to read words.
It's still got to go
That's
forward.
the trick.
Right, right.
What are you
And
going
we
to
did
describe
have-
to the artist to draw so that you don't have to be putting
Covering
words on the
important
page?
stuff.
Yeah.
And my artist, he will draw the important stuff where it needs to be, but he'll go in and he'll put like Easter eggs and stuff in. And I'm like, oh man, I don't want to cover that. Like he put his singing bass on the wall in one of those saloons. So I was like, I got to cover the singing bass with the freaking word bubble. Darn it.
I talk all the time about how, and that's how Erwin and I got together on our second story, is what they call a silent story, right? And that was like the assignment to ourselves, that it would tell the story using only the clicks and buzzes that a partly broken robot could make, you know, like an R2D2 type series of clicks and so forth. And it's a fun exercise. If you've never done it, I definitely recommend trying to make a silent story, because it really, you can flex your visual muscles, you know.
Definitely.
That's
That's
definitely one that I'd look back on and wish I could take another swing at it. You know, I always think it could have been better the second time, but hey, you got to keep moving, right?
Our issue
You can
one
jump
is
on it right
mostly
after this.
silent.
Yeah. So
right now.
let's jump over to some crowdfunding questions in general. And like I say, I'm going to keep this kind of character theme, but I do want to talk to Tanner because number one, he's a super interesting guy. And number two, he's using Fund My Comic, which is a site we've heard more and more about. And I'm a Kickstarter user. I haven't tried any of the other services. I looked at Indiegogo a little bit. Tanner, can you tell us why you chose Fund My Comic?
Well, because I already did Kickstarter with it, and I still needed to hit the mark. So
so you did two sources.
I did.
Oh, so how'd that go?
So far pretty good. Like I said, you know, just need to inch it over a little bit so that I can finish up a few pages. But you know, that's why I thought, you know, Fund My Comic would be a good source for that.
And now, so
and I know Luke, so yeah.
Yeah, and I met him once too. I think I know him a little. But my question for you is more along the lines of this, and I'll make a quick comment. I saw there Mr. Bracey mentioned about the classic silent G.I. Joe comic. Yeah, that's a great example, and probably the best example. And I always love to recommend it to readers and writers because it's a great example of how you can make a story without any words. Because as some of you know, when you say to friends and family and coworkers things like, "Oh, I'm a writer for comics," sometimes they don't quite get it. Like I said, wait, so you make pictures? Like, no, it's a story in there, right? You have to like explain to them that it, at least in my case, they're short stories, you know, they're illustrated. And they're like, oh yeah, it's a story. Like, it's not just pictures in there, but they like forget that, I guess, or something. So it's something that you have to learn to think visually to be able to translate those two mediums between the writing and the art to make something kind of special. And I think that's a really great example. Thanks for bringing it up. But back to Tanner. So at the end of so you're going to do 2 campaigns? Or are you going to go to Indiegogo and do 3?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that far into the future, but
all right. Well, let me ask you this. My question was really this. That was just a prelude. Where does Electric end up after crowdfunding is over? Do you pitch to publishers?
Oh no, I completely self-published myself. Basically, I'll get a few pages finished up, and then we'll send it off to print. Yeah, and everything will be right as rain. And then,
well, I mean, do you ever? Because I think most of us do that. But do you ever like take the finished project and say send it to Image? Like you might do really well at Image.
I haven't thought about that yet. I mean, it's in the back of my mind. You know, I think anyone thinks about, you know, yeah, you know, could my stuff go to like Image Comics or something of that nature? But for the time being, I'm just focused on trying to build a fan base and you know, put out what I think is good comics to.
Yeah, I think yours are good, man. I've been following some of the stuff, and I think you pick some great artists too. Like, how do you pick your artists?
Well, I fell into it. I picked a lot of people from, different sites, everything from ArtStation to, Fiverr. I found people on, but it was hit or miss. I had everything from artists that took my money and ran to people that gave me stuff that wasn't as good as it's interesting. Like, I had some people that showed me a portfolio and I hired them, and then the product that they gave me looked nothing like their portfolio. I see Laurie shaking her head like she's experienced this. It's not cool. But then I met Benjamin Sanchez and Edgar Wolf, and they're two phenomenal artists out of Mexico City, and we all of us got to talking, and we're kind of like mind. We're similar in age, so we grew up, on the same influences, and like I said, I fell into it, and I'm just lucky to have Benjamin's, because Benjamin Sanchez, he takes my character designs, and then it's almost like he's inside my head.
Tell us a little bit about this latest one.
With the electric?
Yeah.
What about it? Like how
it's like a little bit different art style, am I right?
He does come on board. They're anthology books. And then the other artist I have is Michael Lanning.
I know that guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I like that art. I just realized I think that's what we might be referring to.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm kind of a new follower for Tanner. We knew each other a little bit through Doc, who I don't see near as much as I would like. He's supposed to be on the show, but
oh man,
we got to all get together and do the top 11 guitar gods.
Oh yes, definitely.
Actually, John would probably like that too.
Peter Green.
Oh wow,
Peter Green.
Peter Green.
You already came with an answer.
Yeah, you see that? He was prepared. He was prepared. So let's say we went a little out of order. Let me just see where we are. I think I'm over on John. So John, you're a Kickstarter user.
You skipped me.
Did you? Well, okay, well, I'll come back to you then. You rearranged the heads when we came back.
How did you miss her? She's right there.
Because I'm doing the comments, so I'm trying to put the people who are talking up here. So, because you do this, and then all of a sudden we couldn't see John at all.
All right, I promise I won't forget you, Laurie. So, John, how about you? So you do Kickstarter. Have you ever tried Indiegogo?
No. We were late to crowdfunding, and it's really Keith, the guy I work with, who I thought you were talking about before when you said KJ, because Keith goes by KJ as well. So I thought, you got in touch with Keith, and Keith's going to be on. Wrong Keith.
Gotcha.
But anyway,
by the way, we'll give a quick shout here. KJ Kaminski had a technical detail, and he sent me a message. He can't be here, so we'll give his project a shout out before the end. Okay, cool. I'll get that ready now. Keep talking, John.
So he's the one who handles most of the Kickstarter stuff. He's the cyber savvy one, and yeah, he's done a good job so far. I mean, I think it drives him a little nuts. I think it's giving him a couple gray hairs, but that's the sign of experience,
Well,
we're all wearing hats.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask Laurie too the same question, which is because you're a little bit like me, right? We've stuck with Kickstarter because we've seen people doing well on it, and I've never tried Indiegogo. I've never tried.
I did.
Yeah, but did you like it, or what happened?
No. Well, I don't want to knock it because I didn't put a lot of effort into it. Right. I ran a social experiment to see
the victory lap.
Yeah, I did a victory lap. So we were funded. We were okay. We didn't really need to do it. But again, there's people that don't cross-pollinate. So there's people on Indiegogo who won't come to Kickstarter and vice versa. And I've always done shows where people in the comments are like, it's too bad you're on Kickstarter. I would back you if you were on Indiegogo. So it's like they're telling you right away, it would be a sale, but you're just not on the right platform for me. Right. So I was like, all right, well, I'll do an Indiegogo. I'll do a victory lap. I'll do some shows, but I want to see how like organically people can find me on there. And they don't. the answer is
right.
they don't.
I didn't, and again, this is one man's opinion. I didn't
Mhm.
like necessarily the way that you search for projects. Like
Correct.
I even had people who I knew their projects and liked it and wanted to follow
Can't
it.
find them.
You can't find them. And I was like, man, what am I doing wrong? But then you hear about people saying things like, well, it's a shadow ban or
Shadow
things like that.
banning. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much of all that I believe necessarily.
I've
there-
seen it in like Doc had an Indiegogo, and you could not pull it up. You could not search it. You could not find it. The only way you could get to it is if you clicked on the link that he gave you.
Right.
So you could not organically find him. And if you just knew the name of it and looked it up, you could not find it.
You couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I mean, that's kind of how it was too. So like Path of the Pale Rider is kind of a long name. So if people are accidentally typing too fast or typing it's bound to happen. You know what I mean? So I had people like, I can't find you. And I was on a live showing the Indiegogo, and people were like, it's not coming up. It's like,
Gotcha,
are you kidding me? But the only time I got backers was when I was doing a live show, and I only did like 4 because it was like immediately after the Kickstarter where I do like 30 shows, right? So I work my butt off for my Kickstarters, and that's where my fans know that I am. So I don't want to disrupt that fan base by taking it somewhere else. That I think would be a mistake. So I always want to do like the second chance campaign or like the exclusives. I ran these super exclusive foil covers for issues 1 through 3. I only printed 10 of them total. So the people that got them, they're like 1 of 3 or 1 of 4.
Right.
So hopefully those guys understand what they got, because we're not
Gotcha.
we're not doing any more of those. So they got something special. Anyway. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Hey, while we're here, I am going to show you guys quick. Like I say, unfortunately, KJ Kaminski had this technical
let's
issue,
look at his.
but he has the great project called The Resistance. And I've seen this at the Baltimore Comic-Con, and he is a perfect fit for a character show because he has a broad range of characters with powers and abilities and this kind of thing. And I say this in the best way. It has a little bit of a feel like a futuristic G.I. Joe kind of universe. So that is Resistance Bounty Hunter.
Speaking of G.I. Joe. Yeah.
And the other thing is take a look at some of this art, which he's got always the top guys working on the art.
Oh,
dude,
nice.
This is G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Very much.
Jeff, you totally called it. You had the psychic ability to see the future. Wow, look at those.
Yeah, he's done a terrific, and I've backed a
good.
couple of his projects. Actually, there's another one that's cool too. I'll give a quick shout out, which is Sophia Saturn, I think it's called. That was one I backed on Kickstarter, and it's like a intergalactic female hero, which I always love,
Cool.
So that's from my buddy KJ Kaminski. That's The Resistance. Do a quick call to action.
Yay.
Yeah, please
He's
go over
here.
and
Look.
check it out. Oh wait.
Hey KJ. It says Facebook user, but we know it's you.
We know
We're
it's
so
you.
glad. We're so glad you're here.
So yeah, I have a couple of books, and they're really, really sharp, man. So highly recommended for anybody that follows that type of project. I've enjoyed the ones that I got, and they have some cool swag and stuff that comes with them. So don't miss The Resistance. That's over on Kickstarter right now. So let's circle back to round 2. Let's see, who do we leave off with?
I think
Me.
I'm gonna go back to John, then we'll keep going in a circle. Okay. So in your first off, Monster or Master, how many is it, a one shot? How many issues are in
It's
there?
3 issues.
3 issues. And is the Kickstarter for all
44
3?
pages each.
Oh wow.
No, it's just for one.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So this is a big book. So how far is it already illustrated?
I think there's 3 pages left for the first issue to be done. So.
All right, gotcha. Do you mind if I ask how long does it take him to turn out a page like that?
It's probably been, at least 7 or 8 months. Well, since we started the project, character design.
He said it for one page.
So, so for one page, I mean, because it changes from from page to page.
Yeah.
So, and his personal situation is usually those first 12 pages came out in like a week.
Oh yeah, hey, I can drop them in.
I was gonna say, and stick mine in there, Laurie, too, if you don't mind.
I got you.
And the other thing is that when you work with these guys who, I guess I'll say, not to be funny, but like I have had somebody that's taken 7 months to turn in a page. That's happened to me before. So
yeah, I've worked with those guys too.
Yeah. I try to work with
Nice.
people that turn pages over pretty quick, right?
Yeah, you try to be understanding. Life gets in the way, stuff happens, but at the same time, then when your creative project is
so
sitting
now
on a
back
pile of
over
stuff.
to Laurie. Laurie, what is the Path of the Pale Riders 6 issues? I think you told me before.
Oh no.
How many?
It was a full-length movie script when I wrote the first one. So the first arc is 12, the second arc is 12. It's 36 issues, Tim.
Okay.
Wow.
We were off by 30, but that's not bad.
Well, that's fair enough. I meant for the first arc.
First arc is 12.
12. Gotcha.
Yeah, we're on issue number 4. So we're finishing up kind of the first act of the movie. You know what I mean? If it was a movie, it would be, we're finishing up that. And so you're learning the world and the character and kind of what sets him on his path. So that's where we're,
gotcha.
and then we burn everything down.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So now back to Tanner. How about you, buddy? So in your, there's multiple titles in your universe though. So your angles are going to be a little bit weird too. How many books? Start with just how many in the immediate arc, and then what's the long term?
Okay, so there's going to be 2 anthologies that have come out. And Electric is one, Rin is the other. Okay, and that just sets up your rogues gallery. And then basically, I'm going to do a ongoing series in which the 2 characters meet and they're actually part of a team. And then that will be Double Helix. But currently, I just have the anthologies out right now.
That's kind of neat, man. And you know what it reminds me of a little bit? And I mean this, again, as a cool compliment. A little bit like a Marvel team-up.
Yeah.
Or do you know what Marvel 2-in-1 is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Best book, right? Best book, The Thing, and whoever his buddy of the week was. Yeah. I have that. Yeah.
Which link are you asking me to post here? The one for your Substack?
Oh, I got a Kickstarter pre-launch going.
Let me go get it.
I'm kind of quiet about it, right? It's under.
I know. I was like, I know there's the Substack.
I'm not. I don't want to take any juice away.
Is it the Water Wars one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a pre-launch.
It's Water Wars.
Yep. Thank you, Laurie. You're the best.
You got it.
You're doing that. But really, like I say, I want to learn about you guys tonight. That's the main thing. So you get done the first arc. You got your Marvel team up and your Marvel 2-in-1 and your. How many are you the same way? You got 144 books in your future?
Well, right now I've got 4 written currently. Like I said, I've only been working on this title for a little over a year now. And I'm working on other projects on top of that. So it's like, this
Mr.
one.
Bracey, she's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
He knows. We played D&D together. I managed to not die today during D&D, and I hid behind our paladin with a giant shield. Everybody
nice.
else was inside of a box opening magical things and got fried.
I love D&D. So, John, how about you? So there's,
Right.
I'm going to do the math here. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you got 3 44-page issues, right? Which is a full-size graphic novel. And then, but Road to Valhalla was a one-shot or a series?
It was a 3-issue series as well, but only 22 or 24 pages.
All right, gotcha. And is that available in a collected edition?
Not yet. We're putting it together. We're going to add a couple pages of like a pre-story, and probably if you bought the deluxe versions, you got like these little prose stories from me about each character or different characters within. There was a ton of characters in that book, so we're going to try and put all that together in a trade soon.
Yeah, that sounds
after we
great,
wrap
man.
this up.
And so I know about Monster or Master. I know about Road to Valhalla. What other? Do you have other titles?
I had one many years back, Martin Chase Human Weapon, which was an martial arts action adventure thing. I've done martial arts since I was a little kid. So
which one?
I started with Tang Soo Do,
Cool.
and then I went on to Kempo, Kung Fu, and I also did some Kali and some ninjutsu and some Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do.
You have been
And the
around.
last thing I did was Krav Maga. I got certified in Krav Maga by an
Nice.
actual Israeli special forces
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
guy.
The Krav Maga guys have the best disarms. That hands down, the best.
It's just sensible. A lot
Yeah,
of it is just
yeah.
sensible.
But I mean, aggressively practice them. Like I had them screaming in my face, and I was like, okay, this is real.
yeah.
Right.
If they're Israeli, they don't fool around.
Yeah, no, they don't mess around. I practice Filipino and Indonesian martial arts. So Pencak Silat, Kali Eskrima, Arnis. I'm currently practicing Kali's Illustrissimo. So hello.
I'm looking to get into that. I've done some of that.
Illustrissimo is
I'm
so
looking
bad.
to get into it.
Yeah, you would love it.
I will. You guys are definitely churning out some output as far as books go. But I don't, I realize by some criteria. Sorry, I can't speak now. By some criteria, I move a little bit slower than some people do. But I got my next 6 months will be a little busy because I got the trade paperback, right, which is going to come to Kickstarter when I feel like launching it. And then there's Call the Cryptid 2, and then the Western, and then there's a novel that comes out, which is actually already done, that I'm just sitting on because it's all one more thing, right? We always got to find the way to market them and to get all these things addressed. I might show of hands. Anybody else using Substack?
Not yet. I'm curious.
I have a question for you. Do you sleep?
Me?
I feel like you have so many things that you do that you just must not sleep. How do you accomplish that?
Let me ask you this, Laurie, and I'm being really honest with you, okay? Because to me, I look at you and I think that you seem very motivated to me. Yeah. And you've got the video thing, you got the Kickstarter, and you're like me, you have kids, right? And not to bring that in if we don't want to talk about it, but I'm a dad.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I've talked about my family. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm the same way. So this isn't really my only thing. Right. But I kind of have to do it. And I'll tell you why. Because I started on this path. Remember, I'm kind of new. I started late in life doing this. This is never something I did. So I'm going to run out of time, you see, before I run out of ideas. And the other thing is that I got to be honest with you, I've got to probably double my income if I want to keep being a writer full time. I make a little bit of money now, finally.
Yeah.
Because the reason I asked you guys about the money was this isn't to be nosy and stuff, right, guys and girls? We're trying to learn more about the business, and it's how I learn and it's how I grow as a creator. The reason I asked Tanner about his publishing, because I know we're all doing pretty well in self-publishing, but I often take the finished products and submit them to publishers in the hopes that one gets picked up nationally, and then I get a page rate from that. And my page rate's very small, and my I also get a percentage, which is anything over 6,500 copies is royalty, right? But these things are all weighted, you see, so you never sell quite more than that. It's not as good as it sounds. I've never done more than that. Ever. Right. But now I've had probably 5 of them, or maybe it's 6 now, right? With the other Hunchback book. But at least the other thing is, if you go into a comic book store, you can buy one of my books if you're not on Kickstarter, which is what I'm trying to do. But what we have to do as creators, and again, I'm still figuring it out, is to get a couple of these things, right? Like you get like a little engine that goes to here and to here and to here. And pretty soon you have your royalties flowing in. I got the juice.
That's a great question.
I got a fair amount of juice. Like I say, I'm high energy in regards to some things, but only in the regards of things that are creative. Otherwise, things don't hold much interest for me.
I get that.
Yeah.
I randomly get signs from the universe that I'm on the right path. Why do you take that any way you want to? We went to go see Pearl Jam last week, Friday, before we launched my Kickstarter. And in this huge crowd of people, we were talking to the people in front of us, and the lady introduced herself as BJ. One of the main characters of my story is Big James, and the locals in the story call him BJ.
Oh, you're saying it's a sign.
What's that?
You say it's a sign.
I mean, come on. Out of an entire stadium of people, the lady named BJ is sitting in front of me. That's so odd to me. So every now and again, like stuff like that makes me just kind of sit up and say, okay, I think I'm still on the right path.
Right.
Keep going. So,
well, I'll tell you what, let's make a question based on that, because you guys know I like these questions, right?
Yeah.
Let's try this. Out of all the things that we could have been doing, all of us in this room chose this. And hear me out, ready? We didn't do it because we heard it was the most glamorous or because we heard it pays the most. It's certainly not about the money, or we'd be all selling cars, right?
Right.
So let me ask you, and I mean this sincerely. Let's start with Tanner. Tanner, why comics? Why did you choose to do this?
Oh, I love comics. I've had a deep love of them, from childhood, and and then too, I'm retired military. I knew how to do two things. I knew how to make comics because I did independent comics before 9/11, and so it was like, well, I know comics and I know how to blow stuff up. And there's not a lot of options for blowing stuff up. so I fell back on comics, but no, I have an absolute love of the medium, and that fuels my passion.
Good answer, buddy. Let's jump over to Laurie. Laurie, and especially for you, right? Because you do the videos, and there's actually many elements to your creativity. Why comics? What brought you to what about comics has you excited?
I love the fact that I get to write a story and people can walk through it in my head. It's what's in my head come to life, and they can experience it how I want them to. That we are in this age where we've kind of cut out the middleman, or we don't need the middleman to deliver that. You know what I mean? Because if it was still in the screenplay, I would need like a Netflix or, hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce this thing. But as a comic book, break it into issues, and people can follow the story and follow my characters without a director bringing in an additional writer, changing the script, or you know what I mean? I get to keep my creative control, and the story gets to continue the way it's intended to before someone else meddles around and get their hooks in it. Yeah. I've read comic books probably started as a young adult, high school, and into college. So Image was already a thing. So it's like my husband and I were reading comics at that point, not as, young kids. But both of us loved like The Walking Dead and Invincible, East of West, Saga, like more adult and
great
indie.
lineup. Yeah, great.
Right.
Lineup.
So I saw Path of the Pale Rider as production because that's where I came from. Remember, I was choreographing fight scenes for short films and for music videos in Detroit. So that's what it was when I wrote it. But my husband saw it and he was like, this is a comic book, because we didn't know what to do with the script. So sometimes it takes someone else looking at it to really tell, if you don't see the forest for the trees kind of moment where you have this thing and you don't know what to do with it. He was the one that's like, this is a comic book. And I was like, you're absolutely right.
Right. Good answer. So John, how about you? Same kind of thing, right? You're a creative guy, musician. You got these different drives. And actually, your question's two parts. Ready? Why comics? And also, you didn't feel like, are you still playing? What's going on with the music?
Musically, not as much as I would like, because I have kids as well. And actually, my son is he's a guitar player. He plays drums, bass, keyboards.
Do you guys play together?
We've been, yeah. We recorded some stuff, acoustic stuff. We'll see where it goes. Scratching an itch and just enjoying time with my kids. So.
Yeah, my son and I play guitar.
I think you mentioned that. I think we talked about this in Baltimore.
He's at the booth. Yeah, he's over here. You should come on camera, David. Oh, he doesn't have any clothes on.
Do not come on camera. No.
But as far as comics goes,
let me ask you. So, what was it about comics where you're like, hey, this is my jam? I'm comics guy.
Well, when I was a kid, I was really sick with asthma. I spent up to 5th grade in and out of the hospital, and I TV, God knows what was on TV. I was reading comic books. My father would bring me comics. My uncle delivered comics in a truck, so he would bring me a giant stack of comics.
What kind of books? What kind of books were in there? What kind of comics?
It was all the weird Marvel stuff, like Black Panther.
Oh, nice.
Master of Kung Fu. That's how I got into Master of Kung Fu.
Yeah, sure.
Geez, what was all the horror stories, Frankenstein, werewolf, all that stuff. And so I was just hooked on it right away, and I learned to read. I read better than any of the kids in the class because I was reading comic books, in the hospital or when I got home. So.
And how old were you then? How old were you then, John?
From like, I think I first went in the hospital when I was like 5, and I was in and out until I was in probably 5th grade.
Nice.
So yeah, Star Wars had come out, and I got those early first issues of Star Wars. I knew about it as a comic book before I saw the movie.
Yeah, the Star Wars with the Howard Chaykin cover.
Oh,
anything with Howard Chaykin gets me there. Yeah.
But I tell you, I had a. First, let me real quick tell you, of course, as I'm sure you've realized, I'm nobody, but I had the cool moment when I was at the Hershey Comic-Con. I applied later. What happened, I don't know, but my table gets moved into the room, and I was supposed to be partnered with my buddy David Daub, and he couldn't make it. So I got the whole table to myself, and instead of being moved in with like the small publishers, I'm next to Howard Chaykin, Roy Thomas.
Wow.
Al Milgrom. Like they put me in the wrong place next to these big names. And even the one guy came over, Black Box, Demetrius, he's super cool. He's like, man, how did you get in here? And I was like, man, I don't even know. Right. I go over, I try to meet the people and stuff and see, sometimes they might say yes to an interview, that kind of thing. So I go over to meet Howard Chaykin and I say, hey, Howard Chaykin, I'm a fan of yours, blah, blah. I'm not too good at meeting celebrity types of people. So I figured I would just say hi and blah, blah, blah. I give you my card. And he goes, oh, hey, Tim Fling. I know who you are. You're on my Facebook. We're Facebook friends. I said, oh, yeah, we are. Well, he goes, yeah, I recognize it. You make books. I was like, whoa. So you never know where it's coming from.
He's a sharp guy.
Yeah. But by the way, almost hard to talk to. Like his vocabulary is so intense that you have to like stop and carefully listen to what he's saying. Like I speak English, but he's like a really smart guy. Like he's flexing his vocabulary.
Oh, absolutely.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I actually had to stop and like concentrate. Like, wait, I understand these words. I had to like, sort them all together.
I can do this. But he's an intimidating personality as well, because, if you're a fan of his, he's intimidating. But I think once you spend some time with him, he's,
one of the things he really kind of denigrates the comic fans. He really kind of busts on everybody pretty bad, which that's part of who he is. You just
exactly.
You just come to love that.
I sat next to him in New York Comic Con. Actually, I sat next to David Lloyd, and on the other side of Lloyd was Chaykin.
Wow,
that was my first experience with him, and I was just blown away. He broke my stones, but it was fun. And now every time I see him, he remembers that much about me. I can take it.
That's a great anecdote. And I appreciate you guys. I got all 3 on that question, right? Okay, I did. Let's do this before we run out of time. And I got to say, I could talk to you guys for 3 hours. This has really been a lot of fun for me. And I love to hear about how people are making their characters. And it's one of the ways that I try to figure stuff out is by asking smart people like you all. So thank you for coming on the show. But before we get to the end, let's do a call to action. Okay. We're going to start with Path of the Pale Rider, and we're going to go around and tell us a little bit about the project before we go. So in Laurie's case, there's my big head. Woo!
That's a round one.
So Laurie, can you give us the quick elevator pitch? And we have 9 minutes to hit all 3 of you, if that helps. This is going to be for Path of the Pale Rider. I'll help you get started. I love this series. I think Laurie's awesome. You got to go right now over to Kickstarter and check this out. If you like zombies, if you like undead bears, if you like choose your own adventure type stories, if you like clues and mysteries, Path of the Pale Rider, that's for you. I don't have to pitch. Did you like that one? Did you like that one? Yeah, it's a world where death is broken. Your body can die, but your soul doesn't leave upon death. So people, animals, and insects are all stuck on Earth as they go insane because they are literally, their brain is rotting in their skull. There's a lot of ethical issues that pop up because people are still people. They're not brain craving eating zombies. It's you, me, Tim, Tanner, and John, but just in an undead body, losing our memory, losing our humanity. And we're following Jude St. Clair, who's kind of like the last cowboy in the West, looking for the answer of why did the dead no longer die. Nice. This is a crazy story. We got lots of gore, lots of zombies coming up in this next series. This is issue number 4 out of 12 in the first arc.
and we're wrapping up the first act. It's a tough issue. You got to read it. There's powerful
That's good
moments
stuff,
in this
Laurie.
one, but
That's good
go check
stuff.
it out. I got lots of shenanigans. Go watch the craziest welcome video you will ever see.
And
in
also,
the first 3 seconds,
do you
I
want to
get run
give
over by
your
a car.
Do you want to give your podcast a shout out too for people?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
choose to
Don't forget to come see me on Tuesdays. I host the Tuesday Morning Brew. It's at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 2-hour show where I interview people like Tim, Tanner, and John, and give them a platform to talk more about nerd stuff and comics and whatever has happened in the indie world.
Nice.
Also, don't forget to go check out the Kickstarter for the Roku channel. It's going right now, and you can get all sorts of crazy books on there. I'm like, there's
I'll work that in if
there's
we get the
merch,
last.
there's all sorts of stuff. Yeah, don't miss that one.
Yeah. If you grab a link, I'll try and work that in. Let's jump over to Tanner, and I got to tell you, Tanner Hurley and his creations. The more I follow it, the more I really like them. So that's something I want to hear more about the universe that he's making. And Tanner, tell us real quick again. An elevator pitch for your series and for your universe. And what type of customer? Tell us why they should go right now, drop everything they're doing, and go buy one.
Because if you like 80s cartoons mixed with 90s heavy metal, then you would love this book, because that's what it is. It's a hodgepodge of 80s cartoon rogue gallery meets Simon Bisley type heavy metal.
Nice, man. This is a great pitch.
It's a crazy yarn about an energy succubus. So I mean, why not? What's not to love?
Man. Well, man, I sure wish you every success with that, Tanner.
Thank you.
You had me at Simon Beasley.
Yeah, right.
I actually have him for my next follow-up comic. I have a cover that's done.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that one.
So as I mentioned earlier, I met John briefly in Baltimore at the time where he was just coming to the conclusion of Road to Valhalla. And I was struck with, sort of the historic angle to what he was making. And now I see this new one, Monster or Master, a martial arts monster thriller. This is, I think I might like this one even more. So viewers, that's on Kickstarter right now. John, can you tell us your elevator pitch one more time and tell us who will love this book?
Somebody just coined something, 7 Samurai meets Penny Dreadful. And when I first heard that, I didn't care for it, but yeah, once I thought about it, I said, yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is. So so yeah, it's not the Frankenstein or Dracula or a werewolf that you're thinking of, but they're in the neighborhood. So I tried to make them unique and interesting. And then there's a 7 Samurai angle.
And will there be a Kickstarter for each issue?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm definitely going to follow that one. Please, viewers, go and check that one out. And while we're on the subject, there's one more thing which we should probably talk about. And Laurie mentioned it, and some of us as creators, what we're trying to do is band together and create our own network. And in this case, it's a Roku network, and it's going to be something that's for fans, something for creators, something for showrunners, something for advertisers. If you have a project and you've always wanted to put it on the air, we've got, comics, gaming, music, RC cars, short films, horror. Don't forget horror. Laurie, can you jump in and tell us a little bit more? Why will viewers love the Madness Comic Roku platform?
The Roku channel is amazing because it's like the Wild West. The censors are not there. So if you're a creator like myself, where I'm constantly battling bogus copyright claims on always on the Facebook videos, but now I'm getting them on my TikTok videos where people are claiming copyright on my material. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating as a creator. So that's one of the things that you won't experience on the Roku. And it just takes a little bit of time and money to set up a server and channel. And that's what this money is going towards, is to have Max from Atrocity Press. He is going to put the server together for us, and he will help bring over all of the if you have previous content, you can bring it with you. And what's nice about the Roku is that you are monetized immediately. So there's a commercial. I think there's 2 commercials that play at the front and 2 commercials that play at the end. And you will get a part of that starting day 1. So you can bring all your previous content and load it into the Roku channel and get monetized on all the views. The cool part about the Madness is because we are so diverse, the intention is to have everybody there, and then people can kind of just get lost looking at all of our material. It'll be a great place for people to be like, yeah, look at this. Oh, there's horror. Oh, let's check out this comic. Oh, there's RC cars. Wait a minute. Are they doing D&D for Fallout? It's
something for everybody.
Something for everybody. There's stuff for fans. There's stuff for LCSs and stores and showrunners. Go shop around and see what's on there. There's a lot of stuff that you can get.
All right, guys. Well, in closing, I just want to thank my guests, John, Tanner, and Laurie. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge. To the viewers, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you guys.
Thanks for having me.
Always a
nice
pleasure.
meeting you guys.
See you
Best show out there.
Yeah, great job on the show. And viewers, we'll see you next week.